Oh, hello. Can everybody hear us?
I can now.
Okay. That's all right. We
Start over.
I can now.
Hi, all. Thank you for joining us. The manager couldn't make it today. So welcome to the January 18th school building committee meeting. A vote to accept communication for remote participation.
So move.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'll kick it to Austin for a roll call.
Manager Golden. Mike Vaughn,
Here,
Connie Martin. Dr. Boyd,
Here.
Richard Underwood,
here,
Michael Fiato,
Here.
Connor Baldwin,
Here.
Mark Byrne,
Here.
James Hall, Mayor Chow, David Peasley,
Here.
William Samaras, John Leahy, Rodney Elliott, Mary Ann Manzi,
Representative Elliott is also on now.
Jay Mason,
Here.
Maria Sheehy,
Here,
Benjamin Opara, Erica Harvey, and John Haley. Thirteen present.
Hello,
Business.
hello.
Hello.
Senator Kennedy.
Yeah, I'm here. I don't know. I just got on, so I don't know if you marked me as present, but I'm here and present.
I got you, Senator. You're all set.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I'll kick it off to Rex for the construction update.
Do the minutes.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Let's take a vote to accept the minutes from December 14th meeting.
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Okay, I'll send it to Rex or Pana for the construction update.
thank you. So Rex wasn't able to make it tonight. My name is Pana Sanchong. I'm the Senior Project Manager on the Lowell High School project. Thanks for having us here tonight. So for Phase 2 construction update, for January, the biggest milestone that we hit this week was we began the structural steel on the Freshman Academy. Also some other, so the Freshman Academy is right here. And then we also did some underground MEPs. That was something that we were able to start early. And then another major milestone for Phase 2 for January was we completed the concrete foundation at Building F and also the North Connector. And also another milestone was, I don't know if everyone saw on site, but on the East Canal side, we actually completed the micropiles at the bridge as well. And then looking ahead, moving on to February, we're going to continue the erection of the steel for Building F. And then also we're starting the concrete foundation at Building D, which we are shooting to finish probably mid-February. And Building D is this section right here. And then just looking ahead into March, we are going to begin the concrete placement for the slabs for the Building F and Building D. So this is the milestones that we're aiming for in the next couple of months. Any questions? Okay, moving on to the next couple of slides, I just wanted to showcase some of the photos from the past few weeks update from the last meeting that we had in December. So here we are seeing the foundation walls at the F building, which is this area right here, and then also the north connector. And then in this photo, we're just seeing the actual damp proofing operation that we had in order to do the backfill operation. So this is all the foundation walls. And then moving on to the last photo. So this is the one that we took on January 17th, which is the first day of steel erection on the north connector. And just for a layout plan here, the north connector is right here, which is where the steel columns that you just saw in the previous photos. And then moving on from the north connector, we're going to do the steel erection in Building F. And then we have a milestone of February 22nd for the steel in Building D, which is this area right here. Moving on to the next update for the MBE WBE workforce. We have maintained the number of participation both in the female workforce and also the minority workforce. So last month we had about 25.3%. So this is at 387 workers, roughly 49,000 hours for minority workforce. Moving on to the female workforce, we are maintaining the 3.6%. 60 workers and approximately 7,000 hours. Suffolk is currently working with In Order Business to increase the female workers. So we are meeting with subs on a weekly basis to see if they can increase the female workers. And then also for the Lowell residents, we are maintaining the 10.8% from last month as well. Moving on to designer update, Perkins Eastman.
There's nothing to report this month.
Okay. Moving on to budget, Jim.
Good evening. The budget is we're maintaining we're at $20.139 million remaining in construction contingency. Pana, if you can point out that is the key number that we track relative to staying on budget, given that everything is bought out at this point. The construction managers contingency is another item we are tracking, which we've utilized $597,000 of $7.1 million, and the owner's contingency, which is for consultants and FF&E furniture, which we call soft costs. We haven't used any money within that contingency. Pana, if you can move on to the next slide. The invoice for the month of December was $6.7 million. That was sent over to the city yesterday for processing. We have spent $109 million to date of the $381 million budget. As I said before, the main number we track on this is the remaining contingency, which if you can move to the left, is $20.1 million, as was shown on the other slide. We've been processing change orders, and we are comfortable with the rate at which change orders have been coming in, and we are on a decent track. And we can move on to the next slide. Next slide is next steps. We're still waiting to hear back from the MSBA with the updating the overall budget. We're currently at the $343 million, the original budget we submitted to them back in November. It takes a while to process the final project funding agreement bid amendment, which we should be seeing in the next month or two. But they are processing payments as we're submitting them. So the fact that that takes a bit of time is not impacting us. And the next steps are the field is proceeding well. Yesterday, seeing steel in the air, as we say, was a great achievement for phase two. And we are proceeding well, and we'll open it up to questions.
Okay, well, first of all, things do look good. One thing about the weather, has the weather been a help? It's unusual that we haven't had a major snowfall at this point. Does this help? Are you online, on time, anytime behind or ahead?
Very, very much so. And Pana would agree that for pouring concrete and foundations in the winter, we have made great progress. So it's the weather's been helpful, to say the least.
All right, a question I have, I'll tell you, I think the superintendent, the city manager, a number of us has been asked about the gymnasium and the girls' locker room. And the talk is that there are two toilets in the girls and two in the boys. Is that, and the big question is the availability for young ladies. I mean, what's the story?
We are aware of that question, and we have been speaking with Perkins Eastman, the architect, and Joe Drown will address that question.
Thank you, Jim. And thank you, Mr. Samaras. What we are looking at is our toilet fixtures are designed for the entire project. And when it's complete, there are significantly more toilet fixtures available to those using the PE facilities. The majority of the toilet fixtures are on the second floor. As you can imagine, there are more students in that space, and there are much more toilet fixtures provided on the gymnasium side on the second floor. On the first floor, as we open up into the end of the phase two, we will have access to more toilet fixtures on both the first floor and second floors when that space gets completed. So, you know, we do have a difference between those two, and but they do meet the program requirements, and they do meet the building code.
But you have to understand, people, you know, there are some people very critical of the project, and no matter what we do, there's going to be criticism. But those things don't bother me. But what the issue that's been raised is that when the gymnasium was open, the way it was discussed, I guess it's how you listen, was that there'd be more toilets available at that time. So what you're saying is, upon the completion of the project, which means still a gymnasium, that it would be adequate, whatever that means.
Well, they're adequate now. They meet the program requirements and they meet code requirements. What I'm saying is there will be more toilet fixtures available that are close by when more of the building is open.
Okay, well, let me ask a simple question, because these are questions that I think the superintendent's been asked, many of us have been asked. And, you know, we're put in a defensive position sometimes to say, well, this meets certain requirements, like the city council last night. Some of the councilors talked about the size of the high school. That this high school, I think you're well aware, it's bigger than, you know, most high schools in the state. And so the formulas that the state doesn't have a formula for Lowell High School. certain schools like Lowell High School. But the thing is, in the boys' bathroom, we'll say, there are 2 toilets, in the gymnasium area. The facility for the teams, is that the locker room? Are there urinals in the plus toilets in the boys' room?
Yes, there are.
Well, the thinking was that if, when you're dealing with young ladies or, women at this time, that there has to be some type of compensation. So I don't understand why there wouldn't have been more toilets in the first place, because that was the indication we were getting at the time. You see my point?
I do, sir. Yes, I do.
How do we explain that? I mean,
Well, I think our thinking was in communication was with the staff is where the students are. And the majority of students are on the second floor, which is where PE takes place. And there are significantly more toilets on the second floor to accommodate the population. And the toilets that are on the first floor have a significantly less population and are designed to be able to support that population.
but you see the point that I've raised, I mean, because the superintendent, right, correct, you've had to answer this question many times at this particular point. There's nothing that can be done at this particular point for that area, correct?
No, not specifically for that area. All the plumbing is underground. All the walls are concrete walls. So that's the reason why I mentioned that the adjacent spaces, as they are being built, when they come online, will have many more fixtures available in close proximity.
You see the point, I mean, the superintendent can't be asked to, we'll say, count, or anybody from City Hall can't just go into the building and count. It's gotta be, we have to accept what you do. But I think, it's too bad there wasn't more discussion in this, because I was led to believe myself that the way it was stated, that there'd be more facilities or more than adequate facilities, more than adequate, not adequate, more than adequate for young ladies. Do you follow my point?
I do.
Okay.
You all said, Mr. Smith?
I've got a couple of questions.
Counselor Kenny, Senator Kennedy?
Thank you. When you say substantially more fixtures on the second floor, what, do you have a number for that? How many more on the second floor?
There are 5 fixtures for each sex on the second floor of the gymnasium.
Okay, so on the second floor, there's 5 toilets in the ladies' room and 5 fixtures, which would include toilets and urinals in the men's room. Is that correct?
No, there are just 5 water closets or toilets in the men's room and 5 in the women's room. There are
Yeah,
no
that's-
urinals.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
All right, so altogether, there'd be 7 stations, if you will, all right, or 7 toilets all told, if you take 5 and then the 2 on the first floor. But I think what you're saying is that most of the people that would attend events would be on the second floor. Is that right?
The population for the gym is looked at from 2 perspectives. One is as the students are using it, which is the majority of the time, and then when they're used for game days, so there'll be more population in there. And
Okay.
because we have that requirement, we have many more toilets on the second floor than we do on the first floor.
Okay, I think going back, if my memory serves me, back in 2017, maybe it was even 2016, there was a committee that came up with a vision report, which was supposed to look at the way the buildings would be configured. In other words, how many offices do we need on this floor? How big do the offices have to be? And I'm sure that included the restrooms as well. Do you think it would be a good idea to just review that report, which I'm sure exists probably with the school department and in the city manager's office, or do you think going forward, or do you think that we're well beyond that because we're deep into the construction phase?
Well, we can certainly go back and review meeting notes from prior meetings, which I think is what you're referring to, where we met with staff.
Yeah, would this have been back in 2016, 2017? I mean, it was a committee and they came up with this report, and the report was called the Vision Report. And I remember at the time, people were paying a lot more attention to where the high school was going to be located than what was going to actually be inside of the high school buildings. And so, maybe a lot of people didn't give that the attention that it deserved at the time. But do you recall that?
I do recall the visioning report, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And do you guys, you've incorporated that into the construction of this high school, right?
That's right. That's correct.
That was the point. And so did that, you maybe don't recall, but did that vision report call for just to a smaller restroom up on the first floor? Do you remember that?
It didn't get into that level of detail.
Yeah. Okay. The other question I wanted to ask has to do with, you guys are doing this high school for us, but are you doing other high schools with MSBA projects as well currently?
Yes, we are.
All right. How many?
At the moment, there are two. Lowell is one, which is in construction. We've just finished Revere. We're starting Revere. We're in schematic design with Revere, and we've just finished the Boston Arts Academy.
Okay. And did you do Somerville too?
No, we did not.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is because there's been some discussion about the cost overrun, the $38 million. And it's come to my attention that, Somerville had, I think, a $30 million overrun, all for the same reason. And I think that Stoneham had 19 million. And anyways, I think that there's probably maybe half a dozen schools, or maybe more high school projects or school projects where there's been an overrun. One would be out in Groton where they did the elementary school. That was an overrun, and that's actually in my district. But have you heard anything from the MSBA in regards to making some sort of accommodations for that, which those overruns, really, the way I look at it, were just part of COVID, right? And that it was difficult to get, and the cost of the stuff that was used in the buildings cost more. So have you had any discussion with the MSBA, or do you think the MSBA has changed their policy regarding that?
My understanding is MSBA is considering this.
Yeah.
They are very sensitive to the costs that are coming in, even now. That has been historically much higher than construction cost has been. And they don't see that it's going to stop in the near future. It may over time, get rebalanced, but at the moment, they're expecting it to continue. And my understanding is they are considering increasing the allowable dollars per square foot for communities.
Well, I think the dollars per square foot isn't really realistic anymore, is it?
No. If what we always hear from MSBA, and I understand the position they're in, is that they have a limited budget and they're trying to spread it across the entire state.
Right.
So, they don't ever tell us that the dollars per square foot that they are providing is what construction will be. They never say that. They expect that there will be some difference between those two numbers, what the bid comes in at and what they are able to contribute.
Right, but I mean, at this point, it's like almost twice as much, isn't it? the difference has gotten to be pretty wide.
It is continues to grow. So
Yeah.
I believe that is the reason why they are considering a reevaluation of that.
Okay, and so I see it as two things. One is upping the amount that they allow, per square foot or whatever on the project, how much they allow. But the other thing is there are communities that built schools where they got hit with big increases. And so that's a little bit of a different thing. And so and I think there's a limited amount of communities that were faced with that, but there's still quite a few. I mean, I would estimate that there'd probably be about a dozen. So it would be good if do you think they're going to take that up? In other words, that's almost a retro thing. In other words, going forward, if they up the limit that they allow for the building on a per square foot basis, that's great. But going back on a retro thing, there are going back a couple of years. There are communities that are paid a lot more than what they expected, and I think what the MSBA expected back when the projects were done. Is there a distinction about that, or can you shed any light on that for us?
I don't have any specifics about that. I believe that question was asked to the MSBA, and I'm not sure they gave a clear answer on that. My sense would be that they most likely won't, because they want to maximize the money that they're building for new schools.
Right.
But I don't have an accurate response or answer to
Okay.
that.
And I've asked that question of the MSBA, and I haven't gotten a satisfactory answer. But that was maybe a couple of months ago, and I just wondered if with the amount of communities that are chiming in on that maybe they had changed their tune a little bit. But that's all. Thank you. I just wanted to see if you could shed any light on that issue.
Sure, thank you.
Senator Kennedy, at the last MSBA board meeting, they did vote to adjust the cost per square foot that they cover, but it only applied to projects that were in design. So they have not voted or made any adjustments for projects that are after, that are in construction. But I have heard them talk about it.
Yeah.
There was also, I participated in a roundtable discussion with the MSBA with OPMs from across the state and discussed individual projects. And it was projects, all types of projects all over the state that were in the same boat that we are with running over budget. It was, we're certainly not alone.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
All set, Senator Kennedy?
I'm all set. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions? I see a phone number with the hand up. Does that mean they want to question the 348 number? No. Any other questions?
That was me, Mike Vaughn. I don't have a question. I didn't know I put a hand up either.
Okay. If there's no more questions, we'll take a vote to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.